The most common service call I get after plumbing issues has to do with doors. Usually doors not closing firmly or they can't lock them. You get a lot of warping and swelling when high moisture is happening, etc., etc. We've all seen this, and you know there's all kinds of tricks about filling in with wood putty or glue and toothpicks, and that will get you part of the way there most of the time. But at a certain point, you need to really take it to the next level. So when I'm doing changeovers and I run into this, I usually take the time to mortise out and put bigger strike plates in. And I'll take you through just real quick how I've made those templates and how I go ahead and use them on the job site and solve this problem in a more permanent and a more satisfying way. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just create some easy to use templates. So I use a number of different size hinges for deadbolts and regular, and sometimes if you got to go really large, you need one of these. And you don't want to be chiseling all that out by hand. So I'm just making very simple router templates here. I just box them in. I'm just doing the square portion for all of them, including if it's got an overhang like this, I just leave it off and I do chisel work on site. Because, you know, chiseling out this near the edge of a door is easy, whereas, you know, chilling out this entire box to put this in there is rather difficult. So I just box it in with some scrap wood and then I route it out using my flush bit here on my router. Okay, so we have our template cut out here. Now I've added about a 1/16 of an inch around there to give it enough place so when I actually use my palm router to go in here, my target plate should fit. So let's go ahead and grab a piece of scrap here, and I'll go ahead and dado this out and we'll give it a try. Perfect. So I need to go a little bit deeper, but because these have square edges, and most of the plates that I've been able to find have square, not rounded, to get a really good fit, you need to square out your hole here. So let's go ahead and grab that. Alright, so we got our squaring tool here that fits in there just nice, and you just give it a good whack around each corner. Oops. Try not to drop it. It's always helpful. Alright. That fits in there with just a wee bit of play and very, very little. So let's take a closer look at that. So that's about perfect. So, one of the things you need to take into mind is that you've got to be fairly close to the edge, because when you put this up on the door jamb, you're going to have a kerf or you're going to have a lip, depending on the type of door jamb, to deal with, and you're going to need to get fairly close to it in many situations. So you can either just do your routing closer to the edge. I tend to do it in the middle and then rip it down with my saw. What I'm going to do here. So that should be close enough in most cases. So you'll just have to do it by hand if you get into a situation where it's got to be right up against the edge there. But you'll have to freehand it. But I've not run into too many of those. Something about this length will generally get it done. So this thing is ready to go. I'm going to label it for the particular strike plate. I've got about 4 different size strike plates I use, so I'm going to have those labeled and in a bag and in my door kit, ready to go when I get on site. Okay, we're back out on the job site, and I'm going to go ahead and replace that bottom plate with a larger one here first. So I've put my template up. I've tested to make sure that it's at the right depth. You can see it's just a little bit stood off, that center part of the jamb there, which is exactly where I want the door closing. I use clamps with these cross braces like this. You could also drill a small hole in your template and nail it. I've seen people do that. You know, I like the clamp method works, particularly if you have a security door framework to use like I do here. So I've got it up, and what I'm going to do is grab my router and take off the extra wood on the outside there, and let's see what that ends up looking like. So you can see that makes a bit of a neater job. Definitely covers up all the trouble area, gives you more space to get good grip. Those outer screws are heavy duty 3-inch screws. I definitely recommend you pre-drill for those. I have had one break on me about 2/3 of the way in, and that's kind of a bummer. You don't want to have to deal with that. But otherwise, it makes a nice, neat, tidy, very sturdy. All my tenants have appreciated it. So hopefully you find this technique helpful.